Terrorism or hyperbole? Do Kamala Harris and Ted Cruz agree about the January 6th Capitol Riot? Welcome to Old Foundry Media. I'm your host, the Crane Man. Let's fire it up. Just when you thought the hyperbolic language couldn't possibly get more twisted, Kamala Harris intervenes to stop you from assuming it's gone far enough.
When our democracy came under assault. December 7th, 1941. September 11th, 2001. And January 6th, 2021.
In this article from the Daily Mail, we see Kamala Harris compares January 6th to Pearl Harbor and 9/11, calls America the greatest and oldest democracy in the world, and criticizes extremists assaulting the country's ideals. Certain dates echo throughout history, including dates that instantly remind all who have lived through them where they were and what they were doing. In the 9/11 terrorist attack, 2,977 people were killed. In the Pearl Harbor bombing, 2,403 Americans lost their lives. Kamala compared Jan 6 to the attack on Pearl Harbor and the Twin Towers. Fear-baiting and truth-twisting at its finest, GOP Rep. Andy Biggs wrote on Twitter. Harris called the Trump supporters who breached the Capitol a radical faction that may be newly resurgent, but whose roots run old and deep. Vice President also made a push for voting rights legislation. Perhaps this type of thing is why Kamala holds the record low approval rating for any modern vice president. Who am I kidding? It's obviously due to sexism and racism. Right, Jimmy?
No.
As a strange aside, I want to explore the fallout of Senator Ted Cruz's language surrounding the Capitol riot. While his choice of words was not as hyperbolic as Vice President Harris's comments, his words still caused significant backlash from his political allies. And I believe it's important to point out, because it can be said that Senator Cruz's words reinforce the Democrats' hyperbolic narrative as expressed by the vice president. Watch the senator in his own words.
We are approaching a solemn anniversary this week, and it is an anniversary of a violent terrorist attack on the Capitol.
It was those words from Senator Cruz that had Representative Matt Gaetz telling Ted, "The establishment will never love you." The drama escalated when Mr. Cruz decided to appear on Tucker Carlson the day after.
And yet you called this a terror attack when by no definition was it a terror attack. That's a lie. You told that lie on purpose, and I'm wondering why you did.
The way I phrased things yesterday, it was sloppy and it was frankly dumb.
I don't buy that. Whoa. I don't buy that. Look, I've known you a long time, since before you went to the Senate. I do not believe that you used that accidentally. I just don't.
Gaetz and Carlson weren't the only Republicans to point this out. This article from Newsweek reads, Georgia Republican Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene criticized Texas GOP Senator Ted Cruz for labeling Capitol rioters as terrorists, calling it irresponsible because no one has been charged with terrorism. I think Senator Cruz is smart enough to know, since he's an attorney, that no one's been charged with terrorism, just like no one has been charged with insurrection, Greene said at a press conference on Thursday. I think that was very irresponsible of him to call them terrorists, and I completely disagree. Returning to Tucker's interview, we see Ted Cruz elaborate.
Let me tell you what I meant to say. What I was referring to are the limited number of people who engaged in violent attacks against police officers. Now,
but hold on, what you just said doesn't make sense. So if somebody assaults a cop, he should be charged and go to jail. I couldn't agree more. We've said that for years. But that person's still not a terrorist.
In the next clip from this interview, Tucker will refer to Joe Kent. To clarify what Mr. Kent said, I'll read some of this article from the Post-Millennial. It says, Washington State congressional candidate Joe Kent slammed Vice President Kamala Harris on Thursday for comparing the January 6 riot at the U.S. Capitol to the bombing of Pearl Harbor and the 9/11 terrorist attacks by jihadists. Joining Tucker Carlson tonight on Fox News, Joe Kent, a former Green Beret and Gold Star husband, said he found the vice president's remarks offensive. I was deeply offended because it's absolutely appalling and just completely ridiculous. But what I want people to realize is exactly what she's doing, Kent warned. What she and Joe Biden are doing is, they're taking very powerful imagery, and they're saying that the attack on Pearl Harbor, the attack on 9/11, is the same thing that took place on January 6. Let's continue with the Tucker interview.
As Joe Kent just explained, allows them to define an entire population as foreign combatants. And you know that.
For a decade, I have referred to people who violently assault police officers as terrorists. I've done so over and over and over again. If you look at all the assaults we've seen across the country, I've called that terrorism over and over again. The reason I use that word is that's the word I've always used for people that violently attack cops.
Tucker is spot on here, and in my opinion, Senator Cruz has no real excuse for handing the Democrats his support and labeling Americans as enemy combatants. To be fair to Senator Cruz, it was relatively easy to find examples that reinforce what he said on Tucker. In this article from Fox News published on August 4 of 2020, we see Mr. Cruz say, "It reflects the very unfortunate political determination that a lot of Democrats have made, that given the choice between standing with innocent Americans or violent terrorists seeking to hurt their fellow citizens, to date too many of them have stood with terrorists." And here's a clip of the senator speaking to Fox News on June 2nd of 2020.
And we also need systematic law enforcement targeting Antifa and other terrorist groups that are organizing, that are providing assistance. This is a terrorist assault on our country, and rioting cannot be tolerated. It needs to end, and it needs to end now.
There is this tweet where Ted directly addresses a video of cops being attacked as domestic terrorism. Here is an article from the Daily Mail that shows Senator Ted Cruz calls riots organized terror attacks, slams Black Lives Matter protesters as avowed Marxists, and blasts Democrats for letting cities burn ahead of his Antifa hearing. The Texas Republican told Fox News the violent riots are not spontaneous, but are organized terror attacks designed to tear down the government. In another clip from July 28th of 2020, we see Mr. Cruz address Antifa as a national terrorist organization.
These are violent leftists. Many of them are anarchists. Some are affiliated with Antifa, a national terrorist organization.
And here's a tweet in which the senator labels Antifa the same way. Tucker did not accept Ted Cruz's explanation, however, and the last exchange they had on the topic was this.
I guess I just don't believe you. And I mean that with respect. And you have sat there for a year and watched people use language to distort the events of that day, intentionally.
What you aired was a little 15-second snippet. What I normally say is violence is wrong, peaceful protest is right. If you engage in violence, you should be prosecuted. If you're speaking, you have a right to speak.
Checking in with how people on Getter were talking about Senator Cruz's debacle, we see that Cat Turd posted, "Did Tucker destroy Ted Cruz or what?" Could you imagine a world where Democrats were taken to task like that? I won't say examples can't be found, but I can't remember the last time I saw corporate left-wing media call out a left-wing politician to their face like this. The last time I remember seeing someone step out of line, it was Sarah Silverman, and it was in a tweet, not face-to-face, and she was literally declaring her surrender to the rage mob that attacked her afterwards.
Oi! Jesus H! What the I surrender! Good grief!
Continuing with the opinions expressed on Getter about Ted Cruz, Aaron posted, "Wow, Ted Cruz is done." Michaela posted, "So Ted Cruz effed up, huh?" And Rena posted, "Yesterday Ted Cruz committed political suicide." While we have seen a few examples of people reacting negatively to Senator Cruz, I happen to agree mostly with Tucker. Even if Ted has used the word before as he had described, Ted Cruz knows what he is doing, and in my opinion, this was deliberate political language. Let me know in the comments what you think about the senator's words. Pivoting back to the ever-popular vice president, we see that Rena posts together, "Just in, Kamala Harris equates January 6th to Pearl Harbor and 9/11 attack, which killed a combined 5,500 plus people and injured 7,000 more." Here, the John posts, "Kamala Harris just went on national TV and likened Trump supporters from January 6th to Al-Qaeda. This woman is beyond evil." And Styx posts, "Make January 6th Ashley Babbitt Remembrance Day." Ashley is the unarmed veteran that was shot to death by Capitol Police. I'll end the video with my favorite meme concerning the Kamala Harris ridiculousness. Let me know what you think about what the vice president said in the comments below. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. This is the Crane Man, punching out.